What's up? Welcome back. It's your boy Carcino here, and let's talk about it. Living single. Yes, this is the truth behind the television series Living Single. You see, Living Single happens to be one of those shows that came along at a time where many people were in need of another show where it's just showcasing women and just them in the workplace or at home in their everyday lives, but actually having roles and jobs that actually meant something. There was not a lot of empowering shows about women at that time. A different world showed them going through college. Never really showed them out in the adult world, after school, and moving on. Everything was still related to college, and living single is like this is their life. Single, no, everything was based around the relationship, but living single was just this was it. This was that show. And things of that nature has always been you know coming of age has always been the Caucasians. They normally had that platform. So now here's a black coming of age film with black women. Just four black women are the cast. And that's the main cast of the show. Is these four black women who are single and they have very successful jobs in their lives. Now, early on, Yvette Brower, who wrote this incredible series, Yvette knew right away. She said, I got to have a centerpiece in order to get this thing going. This show is mainly going to be about Khadijah and her girls. So the name of the show was called My Girls. And it was about Khadijah living with her girlfriends, and Khadijah's trying to find love while she have a successful, job and all these things, but she's trying to find love and romance while living with her friends. So everybody else was going to be a supporting cast for Queen Latifah's character, which was Khadijah. Now, Queen Latifah just came off of Juice, and she did House Party 2 and then Jungle Fever. And, when she did all these films, like back to back to back, she was getting out there in Hollywood, but a lot of people wasn't really calling her for roles. So they took a chance to try to give her her own TV show and said, we see you're getting out there in the acting world. Let's try to get you, behind this show I got that I wrote. It's called My Girls, and you're the head of it. And at the time, she was just coming off her big album that she had just written, the Black Rain album that she just recorded that had the Unity song in there. And all of these songs on this album that she was doing, she was going rugged and rough, and everybody's like, I don't know. She was just doing this whole rough album, and then she comes in because that was it. Everybody was going like the Mama Said Knock You Out route during that time. Rugged and Raw was back, and she's with Naughty by Nature, and Trench was writing the songs. That's where they were. So Yvette told her, like, we don't need that, Queen Latifah. That's not the Latifah we want. We want the other Latifah. We want Khadijah. Khadijah is not that. She owns her own magazine. Because first, Khadijah wasn't gonna own a hip hop magazine. She was gonna be an editor at a fashion like my magazine and all this stuff. But they made it more hip hop to relate to her character. But first, Khadijah character, she was like a executive producer at a company that had nothing to do with hip hop. Period. So she was just in fashion and all this stuff. So Khadijah ended up being more the in charge of Flavor magazine and all that stuff. So when they wrote the character and they said, okay, well, we got Queen Latifah on board, so this ought to give us a push when we try to get money for the show. And other networks and people read the script, and they was trying to cast before they even went to cast characters. They were reading the bio, and the networks were trying to decide, because see, Fox was trying to find a show to fit in between In Living Color and Married with Children. They were like, we need a show. We need a show to fit this slot. They got some like something ready to go and record. They got a good treatment. It's called My Girls. So you say this ought to be great. It's dedicated towards black women, ages 18 on up to like to 29 or something. And he's like, that's what we really need to target. This is what be what we're looking for. So they look at it. They got Queen Latifah on board. So that won a lot of people over. They got Queen Latifah on board to do it. So before they start rounding out the characters, they're looking at it and they see Maxine, the character Maxine, the black lawyer, who's very unapologetic. She stands up. Very dark skinned woman. She's dark skinned, black woman. They actually put that in the script. Dark skinned, black woman, very opinionated, powerful lawyer, attorney at law, whatever. And the network said, I don't know about this character. I think 4 might be too much. First, they start off with well, did you ever think that 4 characters might be too much? Then that turns into, well, I ran it by everyone, and the Maxine character, they don't think that one's gonna really hit home with some of the viewers, and some of the viewers might be offended by her character being so, you know, outspoken. Don't you think? I think we might need to just probably lose that and focus on the main 3. Or she could be a reoccurring character every once and now and then you bring her in as the friend that comes over. But as a main character, we just think that's gonna. And Yvette stood her ground. Yvette stood her ground and said no. If all the comedic and all the comedy, most of it is coming from her character Maxine, if we lose that, then we're gonna lose the show, basically. So you're basically if you take her away from the show, we've lost the show. And I'd rather not do it than to just take that character out. So Fox knew they needed to have this show in their slot. They would be stupid not to. Yvette comes from a different world. She used to be one of the writers for A Different World. So they know she knows what she's talking about. 2, she knows how to write multiple characters. So they need to just get out of the way. And they're like, damn it, we gotta go with it. And someone was like, look, just let it go. Okay? We'll see how it works. And if we don't like it in the first season, then we'll make changes. So that was the arrangement to keep the character of Max in there. And let it be known for the people who don't know who Max is, that's Erica Alexander. And Erica Alexander was the darkest member in the cast. And Erica Alexander was a very talented actress. She also was on The Cosby Show. She also had dreads and kept her hair short, braided, dreads, locks, whatever, on the show. And we've seen people like her throughout life, period, but never on television, never in that kind of position. So to see Maxine in that kind of position, in that kind of role, it was very powerful for us to see and for black women to see that they could actually achieve this. So getting Kim Fields to play Regine was that was the basically the add-on character because they didn't know they were going to really get Kim Fields to play Regine, and they was like using her as a reoccurring character at the time, and basically this was uh this was something new, and using Kim Coles, who came from In Living Color, who was on Fox, they wanted her to audition for the role. And since she was already on Fox, this would make sense because they needed something new for the position at the time, and having her there only made more sense. So when you look at it, it said, okay, we brought in Kim Coles, Living Color, you know, she's off that. Let's get her here. We got her with Fox under contract. Like, let's use her. And she was amazing, amazing in her role. Now, auditions were crazy. People found out there's a new show on Fox. Lines is going around the corner for cast members. T.C. Carson, who everybody knew from Living Large, that was the only time we ever seen him. He was great. And when he read, and we've never seen nothing like that. A black stockbroker living with his high school roommate, John Hinton, played Overton. And he won the role over because for Overton, there was like the good old handyman. And he had a lot of people come play that role. But when John Hinton played it, and he made Yvette laugh, he had the job. That was basically it. They kept bringing him back. Like, okay, we're going to bring you back. You got to call back for the role. They wanted to find the right guy to play Overton, and they found the right guy. He's Overton. He can't play nobody else. And all his witty dialogue and all his country manners, he fit the show perfectly. This was the perfect blend of characters probably ever done and mixed in television show history to have this many great characters fit the profile of who their character represents. Regine, Kim Fields playing Regine, I couldn't see any other person really nailing Regine's character. Superficial, all about her. You couldn't see nobody really embody that like Kim Fields did. Kim Coles playing Sinclair. Couldn't see nobody really playing Sinclair except for Kim Coles. Khadijah, that's Queen Latifah. No doubt. The black lawyer, Kyle. This show was unbelievable. So now it's time for the first season. They shoot the pilot. Everybody loved the pilot. It's awesome. The show's doing great. And everyone's like blown away by the performances. And it just did like almost 10 million viewers its first year. It was 56th ranked in the world when it came to viewership. And people were blown away by Living Single. Living Single became that new show. And because the show was called My Girls at first, they changed everything about the show. The show used to be more about, let's change all the details about things and let's switch things around because they were like, my girls just sound too bland. Living Single was a better name, so they came up with Living Single. So which means the title song, Queen Latifah already wrote the song, and the song was My Girls. So the lyrics is kind of muffled because they changed the hook. So when you start hearing the song, you kind of hear the song go at the end. And the night is kind of wild. I'm glad I got my girls, 'cause we're living single. They just threw that in. They kept the same song because they had already wrote it. It was called My Girl. So they just changed the hook and just put Living Single in there and just inserted that in there. But the song was called My Girls, and that's why the whole theme song was written. It's crazy how they do that with just last minute alterations. So that whole hook you hear about Living Single, that was the add in. So yeah, this show was great. You know, it had a good run. It had 3, 4 years. Everybody thought this show was gonna go on forever. I saw about 5, 6 years of the show that was gonna probably be there, but nothing more than that. You know, I didn't think it was gonna probably go any further than 5, 6 years because Queen Latifah is a character. I mean, a person that's gonna be busy. She's gonna have a lot of things on her plate, and she's gonna want to do other things, and not gonna have time for the show. I already knew that probably was gonna be a problem when they casted her, and it was shocking that they went as long as they did. Now, the big controversy came because a lot of people think the TV show Friends stole from stole from Living Single. They were like, wait a minute. Friends came a year after we were out there. Then here comes Friends, a bootleg carbon copy of our show. They stole from us. Now, when Friends came out, they averaged about 15 million homes. Their ranking was always like either eighth or they did 10 seasons, which was not surprising for me to see a show that's basically Caucasian based characters going that long because those guys weren't really established movie stars. Only person that was a real movie star at that time was like Jennifer Aniston. And she ended up becoming like super famous, which helped the show out. Then they famously negotiated the deal where all of them got like $1 million per episode, so that for like no one had to worry about who was getting more and all this stuff. That stuff would never happen no more. Trust me, that caused a lot of problems because you had other people trying to implement the same thing. Like, hey, we need to do that for our show. People like, look, what I get, I got my own manager. That's on you. I don't know what your business is in your contract and how you negotiate it, but don't put me in the same box with you. And you think we finna get all paid the same? You crazy? My name is on the title of the show. You're like the stand-in character, and we supposed to all get the same amount of money? Are you crazy? So that's what was happening to a lot of the other shows. So a lot of people from living single were looking like, hey, they copying us, and they stole our idea from the show, and it was living single. Now they got Friends where all these guys are living in the same place. So it created a competition between the two. And at the time, for the first like I say 3, 4 years, there was not going to be a competition between the two, but they were still doing their numbers, And when it came forward to this one, like this show, Friends was at a point where it had meet its stable ground. Like it was gonna do about maybe 16, 15 million homes, no matter what. It was gonna do its thing. But there's major problems that's brewing. The networks are thinking about making changes to their platform and their setting. And while everybody's talking about, oh, well, is it Friends stole from them and Friends was actually done before Living Single? They were trying to shop the show around and all these different things. David Crane didn't know anything about Living Single. All of these things were going on, and nobody knows that none of them could really say anything because all of it really hinges off of Seinfeld, which has been around since what? When did Seinfeld start? That's like the 80s and ran like about 11 years. Seinfeld. This is all this is. It's Seinfeld. A group of friends out here doing all these things together and grouped up. They weren't all living under the same roof, but they were basically, most of them were in the same building. Kramer and all of these guys, they always hung out in this bunch, and it was a show about basically nothing. And and these guys just hanging out, and people wanted to see them because they were so caught into the characters and everybody's idiocracies about doing things. They were all eccentric people. But, Jerry was a comedian just like his real life. And they would show some of his stand up and Julia Louis Dreyfus. All of this stemmed, and both of these shows all stem from one narrative. And that main narrative that they have is Seinfeld. So, Living Single, um, Friends can all say that the format all came from Seinfeld. They can say that. I mean, Seinfeld got a chance to say that you guys copied off of, so it took some of the format and made this a thing. This was our thing, and you guys made it into this. So that's how it went down. But other than that, I'm telling you, Living Single was the show. Period. I liked it better than Friends. I'm not somebody who was really caught in the Friends at all. I mean, it just didn't interest me as much. So when I saw what's his name in there, um, who was that? Jennifer Aniston. I tried to get into Friends. To me, it wasn't a really funny show. I didn't understand what was going on with everything else. But I prefer Living Single with Overton. As my favorite character, it was Overton. Now, with the show, TV shows always navigate and steer towards different directions. As the show went on, it was started off being about Khadijah trying to find love and date all these guys, but it was steering away from her. The show characters that started to blend and come out more was mainly the Overton and Sinclair situation. Their chemistry was ruling out over everything. And because it was ruling out and just blossoming so much, people loved to see those two together. So when they hooked up, it didn't destroy the show. Where most shows would fall apart, the show kept going. The show was just gaining momentum. Normally, when you put certain characters together, you go, "Oh man, this is going to destroy the show." The show got more amped up to see Overton and Sinclair together. Their relationship, was just perfect. So this show to me really ended in the fourth season. The fifth season, I don't know what that was. I really don't. But the fifth season ended up having a high amount of viewers, but they only had like 13 episodes, so it's not really. I don't know. They did about what 7 million that year, but the fourth season really wrapped things up. That's why I think the show really, kind of found this niche and kind of wrapped things up. Because the other unexpected thing that happened was the relationship with T.C. Carson character Cal Barker, the stockbroker, and the lawyer Maxine, who you could tell these two always threw jabs at each other all the time, but you could see that there always was a spark there and they were going to end up hooking up. And everybody who watched the show would be like, man, they need to just sleep with each other and get it over with. This is getting crazy. Like, they need to just cut it out. She knows she like him. He need to just make a move. I mean, everybody was watching this show was thinking the very same thing all the time. Like, look, they need to cut this out. This is going way too far. But overall, we love this show. Okay. All right. Two times. We love this show. And to have the show like go down the way it did was crazy. Because the end of season 4 should have been the way it ended. Okay. They had Sinclair and Overton getting married. And you had Kyle and, Maxine went to take this job in London somewhere and going to London and took off, but then she wanted to have a baby by insemination, and she ended up choosing Kyle's by accident, unwillingly, unknowingly, end up choosing Kyle's. So Kyle returned at the end of season 5 and reconciled or whatever, and Overton and Sinclair ended up in a relationship together, and I think Khadijah ended up, Overton got married and Khadijah got married in part 2 where she moved out. That's what happened. She moved out, got engaged with Black Lightning. Then what's they had some new girl move in with Regine or something like that. Because she ended up moving out of the brownstone at the end, and that was the whole thing. Now they've been talking about bringing back Living Single as a reboot. They keep talking about it for like Netflix or something like that. They might bring Living Single reboot to Netflix. As a vet, she was like the first black woman to have a syndicated show, I believe. She was the first black woman to develop a primetime series. Yeah, she was. So shouts out to Yvette. And for you guys who did know, the TV show Half and Half was like a spinoff of Living Single. They took the characters of Maxine and T.C. Carter, Cal Barker. They were married, and they had an episode in there with their daughter was there also in the episode. They have a daughter named Kyla. So the characters actually continued. On the other show she had wrote and produced called Half and Half. That's just a little side note for you. They made an appearance there. So they showed that their characters did get married. and have a daughter named Kyla. So a lot of you probably didn't know that. So now you do. And now that we're at the end, don't forget to donate to the page. Hit the Cash App up. My name's Carcino on the Cash App, or click the link in the description box and hit my Super Chat link up and donate over there. That way you can leave me a message. Tell me whatever you want to tell me. I'll read them all. All right. Bless you all. Good night. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Hit the notification bell. All these instructions YouTube want for you to do. Please do them. I'm out.